I walked out of the wedding after being humiliated by the groom's best friend with a cruel prank in front of all the guests. Hey, Redditors! This is a furious venting session, a scream for help. But don't worry, I'm feeling better now. It's just the feminine wrath right now. I'll get right to the point and provide an unbiased perspective. So I left my groom at the altar 8 months ago. Yeah, I understand how that sounds. But, before you pass judgment, please hear me out. The person who ends a relationship is typically regarded to be callous, because how can they be upset when they instigated it, right? But this is not true. People in my circumstance will know what I'm talking about. While everyone sympathizes with the individual who is dumped, no one appears to care about the person who musters up the fortitude to stop the relationship. I'm not condoning toxic people who harm their spouses, but some people simply make you unhappy till it becomes your reality. It can take numerous forms. Some males exhibit emotional distance. Some people are always too busy with everything but their partners. Some people lack the courage to stand up for their spouses. Some people mistreat their relationships and dismiss them as mere jokes. Some undermine, gaslight, and deflate their confidence if they do anything slightly excellent to shine or achieve success. My boyfriend possessed all of these beautiful characteristics. Yes, that is a sigh. Let's not even get started on dissecting the character of his excellent best friend, who possessed all of these attributes to an even greater extent. For a long time, these two men made my life terrible, and I assumed that this was how one should live. The tranquility that I now have in my life, after kicking them out, is out of this world. However, they have returned and are wreaking havoc. Because who else yells chaos besides them? So, to help you comprehend this, I'll take you back to my college days. Yes, I admit it, I was stupid enough to date this man for 4 years. But honestly, I was the stupidest person to accept his proposal and chose to marry him. My ex and his best friend have been close since kindergarten and are quite similar. The same sexist, misogynistic, insecure and overconfident characteristics. It wasn't always this horrible. I had good days with my ex. Initially, he was rather charming. And believe me when I tell you, that man knew how to be charming. He tried to impress me and it worked. The first few months went pretty well. After that, the layers began to peel off, revealing his true self. It began with him being constantly unavailable and busy, while partying with his friends. This was what sparked the problems. And then he gaslighted me, convincing me that I was insane and delusional for questioning why he wouldn't give me his time. This lasted for quite some time. When college ended and I was seeking work, he'd laugh in my face in front of our pals and encourage others to join in. His approach went something like this. You'd never get hired, LOL. Even if you do, you'll be fired. This came from my man. And his best friend, who seemed to relish this, would always say, "Thank God you're pretty. They hired you as eye candy, lol." It felt disrespectful and irritating. And my ex would only chuckle. Every time I argued with my ex, he told all of his buddies about it. He would incorporate a third party in our discussions. And his closest buddy would call me all kinds of names and characterize me as a dramatic and impulsive woman, the stereotypical woman who overreacts to everything and obsesses over little matters. They'd make fun of me everywhere, and it was hurtful. He'd make comments about my beauty, my sense of style, and so on, while my ex would just sit there and chuckle. Now, if I start talking about these things, I'll be able to provide innumerable examples. But that is not what we are here for. As the wedding planning began, it was literally his closest buddy who made all of the decisions. I was the bride. I was going to have my dream wedding. But, no matter what I wanted, we'd only go with what his pal chose. At times, I felt as if he was deliberately choosing something I didn't like just to spite me. For example, I dislike orange flavor, but he chose it for my wedding cake. My ex chose the same option as his pal and forced me to follow suit. Even my wedding gown wasn't my choice. This man, my ex's best friend, was a perfectionist. My fantasy dress was allegedly too garish for his tastes. Everything went on, and I persevered till I couldn't. On my wedding day, something terrible occurred. But now as I look back, I'm grateful it happened. So my ex's best friend wanted to have fun, by planning a prank that was quite rude. And that is not all. He also used some harsh words. I will explain. A pregnant woman was carried inside. And it was proclaimed, by none other than my groom's best man, his best friend, that he should not marry this stupid ugly hag. Referring to me, he already had a wonderful girlfriend, who was pregnant with his child. And this wasn't happening in a room with just the four of us. This was happening in front of all of the wedding guests. I was horrified. I wasn't sure how to react. As my tears watered, he began laughing and looked at my groom, asking if he really wanted to live with this dramatic stupidity for the rest of his life. He was being so cruel to me for no reason, and I was simply standing there, unable to speak or cry. This carried on for around 30 minutes. And I was on edge when the girl and the two men began giggling. I've never felt weaker in my life. I felt like my heart was shattering and I was about to die, all while these folks laughed in my face. Then they explained that it was a joke. A prank. Can you imagine how that feels? After humiliating me in front of all the guests and using such language against me, they simply laughed it off, dismissing it as a joke. When I started ranting at them, they just yelled back, saying I was foolish for not knowing how to react to a joke. That was enough to make me realize that I did not want to cope with this for the rest of my life. And so I departed. I simply abandoned my groom at the altar and walked away. They attempted to remedy it, but I left and went missing for around 2 weeks. I needed time to recover from this intense mental anguish. I won't go into great detail about how I healed, but it wasn't an easy process. It was a rough trip, from going to therapy, weeping myself to sleep, or being unable to sleep, and eventually being hospitalized for dehydration and poor eating habits, because I was starving myself. But I healed. Not entirely. Even so, thinking about it all made my eyes water. But I was also working on rectifying it. That's what had to be fixed. Not my shallow relationship, which this nasty man is currently attempting to heal. As I already stated, it has been 8 months. And my ex's best friend is taking his role as a best man, a little too seriously, after spoiling my wedding himself. Call after call. Text following text. From coming to my house to showing up at work, he has done everything he can to make me want to go back to my ex. He believes that this is simply a problem that should be fixed. When I plainly stated that I had ended the relationship and had moved on, he merely asked whether I was dating anybody new. If I had another man in my life, he would most likely leave me alone. However, as a woman, my decision to be single while not in love with my ex was not acceptable to them. It was an issue that needed to be resolved. A dumb prank that escalated and now needs to be solved. I'm so done with this, it is mentally taxing. Because every time this man tries to talk about the past, it brings back unpleasant recollections. Give me some guidance, gentlemen. Update 1, thank you so much for your kind compliments. When I thought about writing this, it was more of a venting session. I did not anticipate people to be so involved. Reading your comments made me feel like a movie character, and you're all developing your own theories. So I saw a couple comments discussing a restraining order, and I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm not sure why I didn't think of that myself, but it's never too late. Speaking about my current circumstances, things are getting pretty annoying, because he has started calling my pals after I blocked his phone number. This is quite frustrating. I'm simply attempting to live my life in the greatest way possible. And he is doing everything he can to avoid it. I'll obtain that restraining order, you know. Update 2. Guys, I received the restraining order. And guess what? I received a text from my ex's best friend's girlfriend, who claimed that her partner was simply being nice, but my move made her believe that I was not worth it because it was such a dramatic thing. Like, dude, is their entire tribe going to annoy me now? I'm really frustrated. Literally. There's so much. It's all the same old drama, and I'm over it. Update 3. Hello there, hopefully this will be my final post. I'm not sure if this was the appropriate thing to do. I contacted my ex. And we had a lengthy chat. I made it obvious that I was no longer interested in him and would never contact him again. Although I refer to it as a discussion, it was primarily me speaking and him agreeing with my sentences. I told him that if his friend didn't stop, I'd have to take severe legal action, as if the restraining order wasn't enough. He told me that I would not be harassed again, and that he would speak with his friend. It's been a week and I haven't heard from him or his best friend. I really hope it stays like way because I am so over these people, and I don't trust them at all. Venting over here has been helpful, and you all are nice people. Thanks. I'm going to sign off for now. NTA, but for your ex and his closest friend. Definitely a holes. Reading this made me really irritated with them. I cannot comprehend how you put up with such behavior. Now to the next story, story 2. I proposed to my girlfriend, but my brother was furious as she was his ex. Months later, he suddenly knelt and proposed to her at a family dinner. What would you do if your own brother got down on one knee and proposed to your fiancé, right in front of you and your entire family? Sounds like something straight out of a drama movie, right? But this actually happened to me. And trust me, it only got worse from there. A few months ago, I met Jen. She was everything I had ever wanted, smart, kind, beautiful, and we instantly connected. At first, I kept our relationship private. But as things got serious, I decided it was time to introduce her to my family. One night at a family dinner, I casually showed my parents some pictures of Jen on my phone. My mom gushed about how gorgeous she was. My sisters were excited for me. But then Mark, my older brother, grabbed my phone, and his expression instantly changed. His face turned red with anger. "Are you kidding me? You're dating my ex?" he yelled. I was completely thrown off. Jen had never mentioned dating Mark. Later that night, I asked her about it, and she admitted that they had dated, but only for 1 month. Mark had broken up with her because he was bored and never wanted to settle down. Even though their relationship was brief and meaningless to him, he still demanded that I break up with her immediately. I refused. And from that moment, things were never the same again. Months passed. My love for Jen grew, and I knew she was the one. So, on her birthday, I planned a beautiful dinner with both of our families and closest friends. When I got down on one knee and asked her to marry me, she said yes. The entire room erupted in cheers, except for Mark. I saw the rage burning in his eyes. But before he could ruin the moment, my sisters immediately shut him down. Then, 2 months later, Mark invited the whole family, including Jen and me, to dinner at his apartment. It felt weird. He had been avoiding me since my proposal, so why now? But since my parents and sisters were going, we decided to give it a chance. The dinner started off normal. We ate, we talked, nothing seemed off. Then, Mark suddenly stood up. "I have a big announcement," he said, looking right at Jen. Then, before I could even react, he got down on one knee, pulled out a cheap-looking ring, and proposed to my fiancée. Right in front office me. The room went dead silent. Jen looked horrified. "Mark, get up. What the hell are you doing?" she snapped. Mark ignored her and turned to my parents. "Mom, Dad, don't you think she and I belong together?" My dad jumped up to grab him, but before he could, I punched Mark square in the face. He stumbled back, laughing like a lunatic. "I just wanted to show you that Jen doesn't love you," he sneered. "She's just trying to get back at me." That was it. I grabbed Jen's hand, stormed out, and made a decision right then and there. Mark was not coming to our wedding. A few days later, my mother showed up at my house, furious. "You need to invite Mark to the wedding," she ordered. I laughed in disbelief. "Are you serious? He proposed to my fiancée in front of me. You really think I'd let him anywhere near my wedding?" "He was just joking," she snapped. "You're being dramatic." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Then she dropped the bomb. "If Mark isn't invited, then I won't be attending either." I looked her straight in the eye and said, "If that's what you want, go ahead. But I won't beg you to be there." She stormed out, furious. 2 weeks passed. Then my mom showed up again, pretending she wanted to make peace. At first, I thought maybe she had come to apologize. But the moment I brought up Mark's insane proposal, she rolled her eyes. "That was just a joke," she scoffed. "You're overreacting," I snapped. "A joke? You call him humiliating me in front of everyone a joke? You call him trying to steal my fiancée a joke?" Our argument escalated fast. We were yelling at each other when suddenly, Jen got up to leave. And then, my mother attacked her. She lunged at Jen, grabbed her hair, and threw her to the ground. She screamed insults, slapped her, and even tried to scratch her face. I lost it. I dragged my mother off Jen and threw her out of my house. She banged on our door for 10 minutes, screaming and sobbing, before finally leaving. That night, Jen cried herself to sleep in my arms. That was the moment I knew I was done with my mother. I reported the incident to the police, but since Jen didn't want to press charges, they couldn't do much. But my mother wasn't done yet. A few days later, she waited outside my workplace and cornered me. She screamed at me in front of my coworkers, calling me a traitor. "How could you do this to me? You ruined our family." I stared at her, disgusted. "You don't want legal trouble?" I said coldly. "Then you shouldn't have attacked Jen." She begged me to withdraw the police report. I refused. Then she said something that truly made me sick. "Your sisters forgave me. Why can't you?" I stepped closer, looked her right in the eyes, and said, "They can forgive you if they want. But I never will." Then I walked away, and never looked back. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.